Lawmakers are returning to Capitol Hill today after a 2-week break for Easter. They've already got a busy agenda, including testimony from Attorney General William Barr about the Mueller report. Barr is scheduled to testify on the 448-page report on Thursday, but he's threatening not to show up unless his demands are met about the hearing's format.
Barr wants to answer questions only from lawmakers and not from the attorneys for the committee. Democrats say the Attorney General is coming as a witness, meaning he doesn't have a right to dictate terms. CBS News White House correspondent Paula Reid joins us now. So, Paula, let's get at the heart of exactly what this dispute between Barr and the House Judiciary Committee is. Why would he hesitate to answer attorneys' questions? And do you expect that it'll be resolved in time for Barr to testify on Thursday?
Well, Barr has 2 hearings this week, one before the Senate on Wednesday and then this House appearance on Thursday. It doesn't appear there'll be any issue with his Senate appearance, but here over the House, they're really sort of coming to a place where they cannot find a compromise over who gets to do the questioning of the Attorney General. Barr objects to the idea that the committee's counsel could ask him questions. This is unusual, but it is not unprecedented. He also objects to a suggestion that the committee be able to go behind closed doors and discuss certain parts of the redacted material in the Mueller report. He says that he has an open invitation to certain lawmakers to come to the Justice Department and review some of that redacted material, though not the grand jury material. It is unclear to me whether or not they are going to be able to come to some sort of compromise or work something out ahead of this House appearance. But again, we'd still have his appearance before the Senate.
So what about Special Counsel Robert Mueller? I mean, a lot of people want to ask him questions. Any chance that he'll be testifying?
I think there's a very good chance he will testify. At this point, to my knowledge, he has not been asked formally to testify. It seems that they are waiting to see how the Attorney General's testimony goes first. But I have spoken to sources close to the former special counsel, and they said that he would cooperate with a subpoena if he received one, or even just a request to voluntarily come testify before the committees.
All right, Paula, let's talk about other things. The Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are going to meet with the president tomorrow to discuss infrastructure. And I think that's what a lot of people want to hear, more news out of Congress and out of Washington regarding infrastructure, health care. So what do we expect to come out of this meeting between the president and the 2 leaders?
Well, not much. I asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders just a short time ago here outside the White House what the president's plan was, if he was coming with any specifics, and she just said she didn't want to get ahead of the president. But it seems that neither side is really coming to the table with a proposal. The White House is trying to spin this as a good sign, just that the 2 sides are talking. But when it comes to infrastructure specifically, some sources have suggested that the president's thinking is more in line actually with Democrats, and the real party is some of his real problem is within his own party and his own officials who are more fiscally conservative and don't necessarily want to engage in hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funds being spent on these kinds of infrastructure projects. So it remains to be seen what comes out of tomorrow's meeting, but I don't think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic since neither side has put forth any specific plan or even any top line specifics that they're bringing to the table. And of course, last time these 3 met, that meeting certainly spawned thousands of memes, but no real policy initiatives.
Right, and I do sort of recall Infrastructure Week. Maybe it was in perhaps the first year, and we talked about it. Actually, not at all, because it was overshadowed by another scandal.
Right.
And that it was talked about as at least one area where there might be bipartisan cooperation. We never got around to it. But listen, over the weekend, the president attacked some of his potential 2020 opponents. He did it on Twitter. At this point in the race, is there any indication of who the White House may like to see him take on?
Well, in talking to people outside the White House, outside the sort of spin zone, right, or the president's Twitter account, and talking to officials who work for this administration because they believe in its policies, a lot of them have expressed to me that they're pretty pleased by this wide field. They think that the Democrats will not be able to defeat the president unless they narrow pretty quickly on a team or a few people who may be able to defeat them. So far, most of the administration officials I've spoken with seem pretty optimistic that the president will be reelected. They don't see anyone who can actually defeat the president. And the more people who get into this race, the happier they are, because they think that sort of divides the pie, divides resources and attention, and ultimately fatigues the public. So the sources that I've spoken with, the people who do the day-to-day work, they all seem pretty optimistic about the president's chances against the current field.
All right, we'll see. Paula, thank you so much.